Hey everyone, welcome to the All Things Gratitude podcast. I'm your host, Nick Dorsey, and before we start the show, I'd like to shout out to our sponsor, Impulse Consulting. Sign up now for their 12-step LinkedIn coaching program. It's down in the comments below. Hit the link and tell them you heard it on our show. Hey guys, today is going to be great. This is going to be a lot of fun for us today. I met our next guest through a mutual contact, which we'll get to a little later about that. And it's been just great since. She is a voiceover artist, an actress, a motivational speaker. She voices countless commercials, animated series, video games, narrations, promos, and you've heard her on the radio. And because of these experiences, she created Give Great Voice, a platform that encourages confident, considerate verbal communication. Additionally, she has co-created a science-based meditation app called Haven with the hopes of helping people rewire their brains for the peace of mind. Everybody, please welcome to the show Emmy-winning voiceover artist, Tasia Valenza. Welcome, Tasia.
Thank you so much, Nick, for having me. It's a delight to be with you.
Oh, this is just great. I mean, you've accomplished so much with, everything you do with animation and movies and your voiceover stuff and everything. And really quick, when we get into, let's just tell people, how did you get started in this? Did somebody call you? You just wake up one day, hey, I want to do voiceover. I mean, how did this work out for you?
Well, that's a great question. I always call myself a recovering actress and a fully functioning voiceover artist because I started out as a teenager as an actress, and I, was very blessed to be kind of discovered at 15 and was in my first movie, which was, from high school acting. And I ended up in a movie with Sean Penn as my co-star, and Louis Malle, this very well-known director, cast me kind of, off of a backstage newspaper. So it was really crazy. And I loved doing that. And then I segued into being on a soap opera for years, All My Children. But this was all in my teens, and basically had a wonderful experience. And at the same time, it was too much in terms of like it looked great on paper, but inside I was a very insecure young teenager and thrust into the world of, you're amazing and you're not amazing, and you're too much of this and not enough of that. And so I fell from grace. I got basically let go on the soap like 3 years later after being nominated for an Emmy, and kind of had my first wow, I was making hundreds of dollars a day, and now I had to go and get a job for, dollars an hour. And I moved out to Los Angeles and started all over again, and kind of had my, kind of rising back up. And I loved acting. I loved the craft of it. I loved using my energy and my voice, but you're not enough, you're not pretty enough or tall enough or blonde enough was so much a part of it, as opposed to just what we can do with our talents. And so when I did get, into voiceovers, my mom was the one who said, you should do this voice acting. I was like, what is that? It was in the 90s. It was when I was still like, nobody understood what a voiceover actor was. I started, and my mom pushed me along as that good nagging mom, and I started doing them. And the more I did them, the more the joy of releasing my talent and my voice and my passion became the focus. And it was away from the box of, you're not, again, what society deems us all the time. And so the more I did, the more joy I derived, and the more happiness I did, and the more roles I got, because this variable wasn't involved anymore. And after about 6 years, of doing both and doing more and more of that, what became an adjunct became like more my passion and where, my happiness lay. And one day, my therapist said to me, your mental health seems to be going up in proportion to the amount of voiceovers you're doing. And I was like, there's something to that. And so I left acting on camera. I devoted myself to this beautiful, platform of being a master storyteller. And then that evolved too, that the same things that made me a great voiceover artist, to understand my roles, who I was speaking to, what was I wanting to do with my voice, how was I taking those words off the page and breathing and speaking life into them, I could bring that same intention and awareness to my real life roles. And so from that, I understood that I could teach actors to do this, but I could teach lawyers and podcasters and students to inspire them to use their voices as their most powerful communication tool, because so much of it especially in the last 5 years, has been abdicated to our digital communication. So that's the evolution of where I am and why I'm so passionate to give great voice and to teach what this means, which at its essence is to move, touch, and impact using our voices.
I mean, that, Tasia, to me, that's just a great story because of the fact that, you know, you're in a place where you said, you know, Hollywood's a certain way and you weren't fit into it, you don't feel like, and then your mom pushed you and you pushed yourself, and you guys, instead of taking a negative and just falling out, you know, you built off it and built this great career out of it. So man, kudos to you on that. That is just, it's an amazing story. That's awesome. That just shows people out there, you know, just because one thing doesn't work out doesn't mean something else can't. You just got to keep pushing it.
Yeah, yes. You want to see what
absolutely
where the flow is, and the flow was very much saying you're supposed to be doing this and less of that, you know. And it was one of those pivotal decisions though that I made. Part of it was for my balance of my real life too. I had a man that I loved, and I could see he was not going to be thrilled with me saying, you know, there's this guy, Brad Pitt, and I'm going on an island with him, but it's totally professional and I'll be back.
And I got to make out with him a couple times, but you know, nothing big
like
deal.
When I came home. So, you know, it's like I wanted that. And thankfully that was the right choice because I'm still married and I have 3 beautiful children. And, you know, again, and I'll tell you a really wonderful thing. I thought, okay, I'm giving up my Emmy and I'm giving up my academy, but that's okay. Because you know what? This was the right decision. And the universe is so kind in that I donated my voice for 2 years to this wonderful organization, the Wildlife Animal Sanctuary based in Colorado, which saves wild animals, including the tigers from Tiger King. And I fell in love with them and donated my voice for them. And 2 years, a year later, I received an Emmy from doing that. So I didn't even have that expectation. So it was like, thank you, God. Thank you, angels. I didn't ask for it. I gave of myself. I gave my voice and my heart. And I still got that award, which I thought I had given up, you know, from not being an on-camera actress.
You know, I really feel that just this life in general for all of us, we're led down certain paths for a reason, and we're supposed to come to these hardships and cross them and just win out of that. So, I mean, that's just great hearing that. I mean, because you're doing your passion now, and you know, you found out what your passion was. You know, you thought at the time acting maybe was your passion, but then it turned into this, and now look at you. Every time you talk about it, you just light up your face. You know, it's just, that's so great.
You know, the thing is, it's voice acting, but we're removed from the parts that society always says you're not. And I think it's a metaphor that we feel in life, that we are boxed in and people think you are who you are. But when you tap into your voice, your metaphorical, and you give it and with passion and intention, it overrides, it supersedes anything that society has deemed us. And that's why I'm so excited to share that.
And you have so much passion for it too, because some of the videos you watch of you when you're speaking, you know, I mean, you got your hand gestures. I mean, you're getting into the role, you know, but I feel that's how you got to bring that true voice out of you, is getting into the role. You just can't stand there standing straight up. And
well, that's it.
You know,
that's what I teach. I teach my individual clients. Hello. I love the people commenting. This is so cool. I love this. Forgive me if I didn't comment back. I just didn't know that, you know, we could speak out loud. But hi, Ira, and everybody else. And I'm so glad you guys are enjoying this. But yes, I teach with my, you know, again, that's part of energy. It turns out that only about 7% of our communication is the words itself. Yeah. It's our body language. It's the tone and intention. It's how we bring it. You know, it's like I could say to you, Nick, I'm really excited to be here today. Thank you so much for having me. Or I could say, Nick, I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you so much for having me. One is the words.
Yeah.
And one is the intention. So that's what I
love it.
And I teach people this, you know, utilizing the skills of a voiceover actor. So I teach public and private speaking, but I kind of use this novel lens, and it makes it really fun, and it makes it very opening and engaging. So it's just a way to approach it that's very simple to understand, but very effective.
I love the fact how you put it out on the platform too, on LinkedIn. You know, you put out some good posts, great posts, you know, and just giving people pointers and ideas, and just those little things just help so much, you know. And then it turns into networking. Then obviously it turns into business, but you're doing it right. You're starting like, it's like a little pro bono thing, just giving these little tips.
I just give. I just feel like if I give, it'll turn into something.
And speaking of networking like that, I mean, that's how we met. We met through Professor Pete Alexander. Shout out to Pete, but he's filming his podcast right now. Yeah, he's doing his podcast now. So we'll see, we see here. We'll talk to him later on that. Yeah, but you saw Ira on there later. Ira and I are friends with Pete too. So
fabulous.
Pete's a great guy. And we met through his 30-day stress relief program that he did last month. And
I loved it.
You know, the crazy thing was I was doing my podcast at that time on Fridays because he had a giant Zoom call. But that one Friday, I didn't have it that day. And that was the only time I jumped on. And you were on that call, and that's how we met. So that was absolutely awesome. Yeah. And then I joined you on Run of the World, their little program they had there where you were one of the 5 speakers for that. And that was really great because my guest on Monday, Todd DeWitt, I met him there. So, I mean, it's just awesome. It's like finding that one person who can connect you to this person, who can connect you to this person, and connect you to this person, and just building genuine relationships. And it's great. And then, you know, and if I ever have anybody who comes up, hey, I'm looking for somebody to do voiceovers and everything, I know someone now. And the great thing was, you were kind to me. You've been just great to me. So why wouldn't I pass your name on, you know? So, I mean, I really appreciate everything you've done for me in this short period of time we've been connected, because I've met some really cool people. So
thank you. Well, you know, I feel like that's, again, something that, you know, the digital communication, Pete is awesome. Yes. He's such a beautiful, and I met him and he reached out to me through LinkedIn, and I was on his podcast, and then he did a Give Great Voice challenge. I mean, his challenge, and I did a Give Great Voice 30-day challenge, and we with each other. So he was on my challenge, I was on his challenge. So that's how we made that connection of Pete. But I do appreciate the fact that the digital communication of LinkedIn, which is great, which is the, you know, again, we use, you know, our fingers and we type, but then when we take it into the sphere of voice to voice and face to face communication, it takes it so much of a higher level, and our human need to connect is so great. And it's definitely filling that void when we take it to this level.
I absolutely agree. And, you know, when we were talking in the green room before the show, you know, one thing I said is the reason I love doing this, because it shows the real person. Everybody knows this is not scripted. I'm not going to go back and edit it all out or anything. It is what it is. Yeah. And that's what I love, because anybody can sit behind a computer and be a keyboard warrior and write the perfect thing and sound like the perfect person, which we know that doesn't exist anyways. But being able to come on here, showing that I make a mistake, I screw up somebody's name, I screw up this, but you know what? It's okay. We're human, and everybody makes mistakes. Everybody screws up. You know, it's how you rebound from that.
Absolutely.
You know, how you move forward.
Or you're just being, you know, again, people relating like, oh, they're human. That's cool. So that therefore I can be human and make a mistake. And to that end, I have one of my incredible coaches, Catherine V. Roy, who I met through LinkedIn, or I guess through Corey Poirier, who's my TEDx coach, who's also, but she just put out a wonderful video on, she was sharing about her coaching, and she was discounting her coaching, and she was really into it. And all of a sudden she was like, gee, I forgot something. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to leave this in. This is just it. You know, this is who I am. I'm just going to leave it. Oh, thank you. I heard about the voice thing. I'd love to. That's very cool. But what was so great is that she left it in the LinkedIn video, and that's what drew me to it. And she said she got a client from it because she left in the blooper. Mm-hmm. And the part that made her human, that's what drew people in. And I was loving the video, but it was like, oh, lovely. And then I loved her authenticity of just like, hey, I messed up, but I'm leaving this because, you know, it's my power and it's life, and that's it. So it was great to see that. And that's what I think you're encouraging people with the same.
And I like that. And I'm not saying people who edit videos and everything, there's anything wrong with that, because some people put out some amazing content, some amazing videos that are thought of. They've dumped money in them. They're amazing. Do not get me wrong. You know, I'm just not to the point of my podcast to that yet. So, you know, when somebody wants to start paying me to do that, then we'll think about it. But to that point, we're going to have fun and enjoy it. And just, you know, like I told you before, this is almost like a conversation between friends.
Right.
That's what this is. But there's 700 million people out there on LinkedIn. But but we just add a couple people.
Right. I mean, the thing is when people get to see you in your genuineness, it's very attractive, and there's no expectation. I have no expectation of what this is. I'm not like, oh, like cha-ching, I'm making money on this, or it's I just was delighted to be invited to share my passion, and I knew that you were going to create a wonderful, safe space, and that's whatever comes from it. I feel like it's in divine order, and it's supposed to happen.
Oh, that's great. So you touched on something earlier, a couple things I want to get to, but the first one was you won an Emmy Award, and you weren't expecting it, or it wasn't coming to you. So how was it that day, or that phone call, or however that come? How was that when you got that call and you were just like, "What? Are you serious?"
That's the crazy part. It's a weird story, but it's true. So I'll tell it.
Yeah.
I literally had given my voice to this organization, and the producer was so kind, but at the same time, he had asked me. They had submitted for me. Funny thing, they submitted the first year, and I donated my time and my voice. And then in order to submit for the Emmys, you have to pay. And so they said, hey, do you want to be submitted along with this voice that you did for our lioness? And I said, sure. So, I paid the money. It was like $250. And turns out the campaign won, but they had a weird rule for this Heartland Emmys, the subdivision of the Emmys, that you can't win the writing and the voice. So the spot won, but I didn't. And it kind of annoyed me, because I was like, what kind of weird rule is that? So then the next year, again, I donated my voice to this beautiful campaign to raise awareness. And they said, hey, we're going to submit again. Do you want to submit yourself? And I was like, you know what? I'll pass. If you guys want to do it, great. So I forgot all about it. So sure enough, the sanctuary says, hey, we're going to send you something. And it was just a note. And I thought, oh, they're sending me a sweet, thank you package. And this huge, heavy thing comes, and I open the box, and it's an Emmy, and I'm holding it. I was like, I just won an Emmy, and I got it in the mail. There was like a little bit of is this for me? And I looked at my name, and I was like, it was that anticlimactic of like, you're not on the stage, you're not, and then I emailed John, the producer. I was like, did you guys forget to tell me something? And he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I meant to tell so-and-so who was supposed to tell you. And obviously it didn't get to it. So it was this like really great high, but at the same time, there was a little bit of there was no give great voice moment, where it's like the celebration should have been a phone call. Like, hey, we won this year. We submitted you and you won. So that in itself was a cautionary tale of like, when you don't give great voice, it doesn't have the same effect of the celebration. So we did celebrate ultimately, but it was definitely not the way I expected to win an Emmy. And it was just a funny story, but I had to share it because it was relevant.
It's almost kind of like the best way, because you didn't have any expectations for it.
That is true. That is absolutely, I mean, in a million years, even if I had known I was nominated again, I would have been like, oh, what happened? What happened? And literally, in the form of giving without expectation, and to receive you want me to grab it? It's right on my desk.
Sure. Why not? Let's show it off to the people. You can do your speech now.
I put it on my desk to remind me, yes, look at that. This was something
awesome.
It is very, very cool and very heavy. But to take this out of a box when you're expecting like a cup or a mug. Thank you. That was truly okay, and my name's on here. It was pretty wild. I posted it on Facebook. I was like, look what I got in the mail today. And people
when people say you got to tell your story and do that, that is a great story to tell right there. I mean, that is just something that is a great blog.
I won in the mail.
Yeah. I mean, I just got the mail one day. It's like, huh?
And it literally was
it's gold statue in the mail.
I have to say, I'm probably the only one ever to receive that kind of a story. So it is very novel, and certainly lends itself. But there was a relevance to it, because literally the communication dropped because there were different people, and in so doing, the joy that should have been, like, oh my God, was dampened. And so it goes back to, like, we must give great voice. We must communicate. We must share our voices so that we can celebrate and also honor, when things are on the flip side, when there is pain, when there is our voices, and the ability to listen and is so much greater and amplifies whatever it is that is happening.
Yeah, God, that's just a great story. That's something you can talk about forever, and it's not going to get old, especially for you. But it's going to be all these new people are going to be like us, like, what? You got that in the mail?
This is the first time. So this is the first
awesome
podcast. So this is your story, because it just, it wasn't relevant before. No one ever really quite asked, like, what was it like? So I'm glad I got to tell the fun version, and then the real like crazy version of it.
Oh man, I'm shocked people haven't asked. I mean, that's like, to me, that's like, when you're acting and you're in voiceover and everything, what's the top prize you can get out of that? Is probably an Emmy award. So why wouldn't somebody? That just baffles me. That's weird. But it is what it is.
I'm glad that
I did my homework.
You did, and again, each podcast has its own. But I'm delighted, because it's not like. It's a wonderful story in itself. Hey, you won an Emmy, but the novelty and the weirdness and the strangeness makes it that much more interesting.
Absolutely. So I got a question for you. So you've been in a lot of different things. You've been in your animated series, you've been in your video games, and your commercials. Let's work on those three. What has been your favorite commercial you did, your favorite animated series you were in, and your favorite video game that you were in?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well,
How about
commercials,
that?
gosh, I've done commercials for so many years.
Yeah.
And
Is there one that was just so much fun, like when you're doing it and you're there and it was just a lot of fun? Or
well, commercials, again, you go into the booth and you're directed, but in terms of the beauty of the commercial, there's one for Cheerios that I love, just because it's this beautiful mother sound of just, these kids and the family in a field, and there's this simplicity to it of when I'm moved by music and visuals. So to be layered, where I'm sharing, what is Cheerios? Whole grain oats. It's just the simplicity of it, but the visual of seeing your voice matched with something. And then I just did a California lottery not too long ago, and that was pretty magical, because it's the Monopoly one where she was just following like visuals of the dog and real life. And again, I love the majesty of other people's creations. So when I'm a storyteller that gets to compliment other people's creativity, that's a joy. And in terms of animated series, I've been lucky enough to be on 2 Lucas Star Wars ones. So I got to be Shaak in the Clone Wars, the Jedi, which was super cool, because big Star Wars fan. So to play a Jedi who's so much cooler than I am was pretty great. And then there was Star Wars Resistance, which was another show where I got to play a badass kind of Han Solo female, but she's a mom as well. So like, that's like, in my real life, I'm a mom, and I'm definitely, less than cool quite often. So to be able to play a cool, super badass mom who's a warrior, but also compassionate, and which they don't have a lot of those characters in Star Wars, that was pretty great. And then in a video game, I'm most known for Poison Ivy in the Arkham games and all those iterations.
Absolutely.
She's pretty good. But I'm also Sniper Wolf in Metal Gear Solid. And that's cool, because that was like one of the first iterations of a video game where the emotions actually captured people, as opposed to just the shooting. And I didn't realize until really 20 years later how much the character's death scene had an impact on people. So I learned through social media how big that game got. And ironically, today we're doing like a panel of the original cast, which is probably like 20 something years later, because there's interest in making it into a movie. So I'm going to be meeting with the rest of the cast to do a Zoom panel. So those are the top ones that I think I'd like to share.
I'm glad you brought up the Batman series, because our good friend Joe, the finance guy, thinks he's an everyday Batman. So we like that. He has the costume and everything. We always tell him Superman's better. But this is great. he's not on the show right now, but I'm going to make sure he listens to this because he's going to be like, what? Because that's just his thing. So this is great. So I'm sure Ira's going to chime in if he's still on, saying Superman's better, just to get Joe fired up. So that's just what we do to him. So it's a lot of fun. So
I love that.
No, that's awesome. I mean, you've been in a lot of stuff that, like we talked about earlier, people may not recognize you, but when you say who you are, they recognize you then, because they know your voice, they hear your voice. Anything big you're working on now, or anything that's just really, just you're really passionate about the work you're doing right now?
Well, I just did my first 30-day Give Great Voice challenge. I mean, again, I'm taking, in terms of voiceovers, there's always like projects, some things I can talk about, some things I can't. But no need, it's obvious. I love it. Superman rocks. But, I'm really passionate about taking my platform and using it to help people, again, communicate more confidently and compassionately and considerately. And so I did my 30-day challenge, Star Wars. And now I'm going to be doing just different webinars and speaking engagements. And my hope is to be able to use what has helped me have a pretty wonderful life and inspire other people to feel more confident in their communication through different mediums. So this is my year of hoping to kind of be able to do both, because I love doing voiceover. I love being a voiceover artist. I love being hired to be a voiceover artist. But I guess in terms of legacy and mission, this other component is really calling to me too. And that's why, keep having these platforms to work with. So I'm planning on doing another 30-day challenge.
Awesome.
Hopefully in February, maybe, because, for self-love, because we need, that's part of what it means to give great voice. And I can share, that part of it, that how we speak to ourselves. And I call it, thank you, the language, speaking the language of self-love, which is a foreign language to most people, as I like to call it. So to give great voice to ourselves is how we program our mindset. But I believe it's through our voices, because you can't learn a language in your head, right? We can't learn French or Japanese in our head. We need to speak it. The same is, how do we speak to ourselves? How do we self-motivate? So many of us will speak to ourselves unkindly, easily. I'm an idiot, I'm stupid, I'm an imposter, or, I did it again. But how often do we say, I forgive myself, that was a bad moment, or I was afraid, or I'm amazing and I love myself and I'm powerful and I can do anything I set my mind to. This is how we want to program ourselves for success. Thank you, Troy. Because we cannot go out and give great voice truthfully if we don't give it to ourselves. So often we're like, oh my God, I hate myself. They're going to see who I am. It's like, hello. It's like, it's not setting ourselves up for success. So I actually want to share that I have an affirmation meditation app that's completely free. It's a tool of self-love and self-kindness, and it's called Haven Affirmations. Haven, please, if anyone's on here, please share it. It's on the App Store, both stores, and it is a tool of that you can use for 10 minutes a day or whenever you need to program this new language. It's like Babel, but for self-love. And then from there, once you have that component, then you can go out and think, what role do I want to rock today? Is it, the podcast host? Is it an author reading my lines, my part of my book? Is it my desire to play the courageous, confident candidate, which I mentioned in my TEDx talk? And by the way, there is a TEDx talk called Give Great Voice, which kind of shares my, this theme of what I'm talking about, which I know, Nick, you've seen. But I talk about how we can play the role of the courageous, confident candidate to get the job, to get the investment, to get the date, and understanding, the 4 questions of who we are as the role. Who are we speaking to? What do we want? What's the success of the scene? And how does our voice support that intention? Those can help us communicate how we are, effective. How we speak to ourselves is everything Troy is mentioning. But this is the platform of how I approach confident communication, both to ourselves and to each other. So understanding, just like a voiceover actor, we rock our roles. We have real life roles. We're multifaceted beings. And depending on how we're speaking in those roles, we feel successful. And when we don't rock those roles, when we've had a miscommunication, when we've, used our voices with a snappy kind of condescending tone, which again, I teach what I need to learn. We often regret that. So I just share different ways we can approach it so that people can be successful. So that was a long-winded, but this is where my passion lies. And I'm hoping that, I'll have the opportunity to speak on stages and be in forums where I can get this message out.
You brought up something that I say a lot to people too. And I love that. It was, for me, I always say you can't fully love someone else till you fully love yourself and understand yourself and be probably comfortable with yourself. You got to be comfortable in your own shoes before you can fully give that to someone else. So I love that you're teaching that with your speaking and everything, because it's two things. You're teaching them how to speak well, but then you're teaching them other aspects. So it's a functional, I guess you would say, you're really teaching multiple things. Yes.
It's a holistic approach to speaking, because it really starts with self-speak. Mm-hmm. And it's like people talk about mindset so often, but we have these programs that are just running on our thoughts, or 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, just downloading unchecked. And until we become the witness to them and start realizing what we're thinking, we are lost to them.
There's the dog. Hey, that's why we're live. We love it.
Right. Hey, I have this wonderful Bernedoodle. I'll show you him. He's so cute. Benji the Bernedoodle, he's protecting us. Hey, go downstairs if you want to see who's there. Sorry. Down.
Oh, good.
Benji, down. Thank you.
I love it.
Yeah, so he gives great bark.
Yes, great. I see you've been practicing, you've been helping him out.
Yes, he was very shy when he first came here. Now he's
That's awesome. So you did mention that you do have a TEDx speech that you've done. Everybody, that's in the comments below. I tagged it in there, the video. So go check it out. It's great. And if you go to allthingsgratitudepodcast.com, there's a write-up of Tasia in there with the video in there and a link to her website. So plug for my website. Cool.
I love all about gratitude, because that is, again, one of the ways which you focus on so much, how we can train our brains to feel better. There's studies, of course, about how gratitude literally is scientifically changing the brain. And the 30-day challenge that I did and Pete did was where you got to focus on gratitude and focus on the wins. And I say, yes, write down your gratitude, focus, even if it's the simplest thing, again, during this time that we're all going through a very, very challenging period, I mean, to say the least, if you could just find a way to be grateful for the simplest things.
So I did put before I started the podcast, I did put it out to a bunch of people, friends, connections. Hey, I'm trying to do a podcast. What do you think? And guess what Pete came back with? All things gratitude. So
genius.
Genius. I mean, he's just, Pete's just a guy. I mean, and that's one thing right now. I'm learning a lot about you right now. You and Pete sound a lot alike. And that's what I really love, because you really, you guys really do show you truly care about people, and you care about just what's going on, and it's, some people can act like they do, and it's just, the facial expressions aren't there. And it's just like you said earlier, it's like, hi, Nick, thanks for being on your podcast, instead of, hey, we're excited, and that's great. And I think that's one thing I really like, because the funny thing is, we've been communicating back and forth with each other. We've talked on the phone, we've texted each other and everything. And I remember the first time you called me, I was like, oh my God, my wife's like, what? I go, I got somebody from the Hollywood area call me. This is weird, because just what you've done, because I'm like, I'm just an everyday Joe, but that's what this platform has done, is made me be able to meet people like you and talk with you. And it puts us like, we're just people too, we're everyday people, but you're so gracious and wanting to help and talk. So it's just been really great. So I've really valued so far everything we've done together, talked, and just conversation we had. So thank you very much for all that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And thank you again so much for having me. I mean, you reached out and we connected on Pete, and you said, I'd love to have you on. And it was my delight to be able to be with you, because again, we're like-minded, and you have this beautiful platform that you're sharing gratitude and the ways to get there. And it complements what I'm trying to do too.
And I'm trying to do I'm doing it in a different way. I didn't think about it, but now I think I'm trying to give great voice with my
You
podcast.
are.
So, that's
You are.
that's kind of cool. I like that.
You are moving, touching, and impacting with your voice. That is exactly what you're doing.
I'm not going to lie when I say it. I like doing the little deeper voice. Give great voice. It just
Give great voice, right? Well, that's
yes.
when we use our voices as an instrument, we can take it. Do we want to calm and soothe, or do we want to motivate and excite, or do we want to create authority? It's literally having a beautiful violin or a guitar or an instrument that when we're proficient at it, in each moment it can be different depending on what that moment is about. And if that moment is an intimate moment, it's different than it's this motivating. So it's just really falling in love with your voice and making it aware. And I'm sure you're so much better now with what you do with your voice as a podcaster than you were when you first started. So that's the thing about too. You have to give yourself time to warm up that instrument. Leading in with a lower voice. Yes. Well, again,
Thank you, Ira.
There you go. You sound very intimate and authoritative, Nick.
Well, here's the one thing I struggle with, and I'm open about this, and this is something I need to work on. When I do just a video just with me, I struggle at that. But when I have somebody else in it like this, it's like ad-lib, and I can just go. Like I've done a couple, I've talked in front of some people a couple times, and that's no problem for me because you feed off the aura, you feed off the audience, you feed off what's going on in the room. So for me, it makes it easy for me to get my hand gestures going, my smile going. But man, when I look straight into a camera and just make a video, it's you
have to kind of manufacture. Well, here's a tip somebody gave me, and I'll pass that along. It's not it's not replacing a human.
Yeah.
You can, if you could literally put a picture and tape it to the back of your computer or a little smiley face, because you're really supposed to be looking into the green light of the camera. So you could put a little Post-it, smiley face, and be looking there. So it might just help you to feel like you're talking to a human, or you put a picture. So it helps you to engage as if you're speaking, even if you're just making a video on your own.
And Ira's been around from the get-go for me on all this. So it was only like 9 months ago I did my first video, 9 or 10 months ago. And now I'm coming into here, and I feel so much more comfortable every time I'm doing one and being on. And big thing was, getting a new microphone really helped everything out, with stuff, and getting guests on who seem like they really want to be on and really enjoying what they're doing. And, there's been a couple guests in the past that, the flow just wasn't there. And it's kind of tough when you're doing an ad-lib show. And then I've had shows like today's flowing really well. Monday was a great flow. It was just we just rolled punches right into each other. It was, and so, I mean, when you get to that and you start to get to that, and as I'm doing more of these, I'm starting to figure out, okay, I'm anticipating what you're going to say or how you're going to end it. So then I can roll into something else. So, it's been a lot of fun. It really has. And just, seeing some of your videos and how you train people. So that's why I sit here. I'm trying to go farther and, to be honest with you, to see what gives better, because when we're done with here, this goes to Anchor and Spotify and all those places. So it's going to be an audio version. So what's going to sound good in some of these ear pods? What's going to sound good on their car radio driving down the road? Not just this is fun, but this is not my target audience. It's great. It is. But my target audience is getting it out to all those other stations, I guess you would say, to put it out to the rest of the world. I know this puts it out, but like I said, this is the middle of the day. It's not everybody's going to have time to stop their job to watch this.
Right.
But, but it's just,
but it'll live on its own, and hopefully the audio quality and the voices and the tones and the engagement will be inspiring and stimulating to make them want to listen.
I want to say thanks, Ira. Ira was the very first guest on the podcast. So,
there you go. That's why Ira's so supportive. Thanks, Ira. That's awesome.
I'll do a quick story about Ira. Was in September 2019. I was looking to move to Arizona. That's where I'm currently at now. I was up in Washington, and I was looking for a job, and it was just getting tough because Washington wages aren't down here in Arizona wages. So trying to find that right thing was pretty tough for a while. But I listened to a Gary Vee video and it said, you need to engage, and just keep engaging. Somebody will find you. I'm like, okay. I was like, whatever. So I had about 700 followers or whatever. And the first thing I went on LinkedIn was Ira, and he does this Follow Me Friday thing where you come in there, it's just peer networking. And back in the day, man, he would get, God, it'd be 100,000 views on that thing. And there would be thousands and thousands of comments, and you just meet people.
Ira.
Yeah. And so I met him on that, and we kind of got along, Then our friend Tina did this thing called Friday Night Lights, was very similar. It was about football, and just adding stuff in there. Just Friday night was just peer engaging. Well, I gained like 500 followers in like 2 days just off of their posts. And I was like, this is weird. So I started engaging, and, I've gained almost 15,000 more followers since then,
That's amazing.
And Ira's really helped me out. And now we've become friends. When I moved down here to Arizona, he lived in California. I stopped by and we had breakfast together, on my drive through, right when everything was closing down in California too. Yeah. Because I came down here the end of February, beginning of March.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. But yeah, I mean, Ira's always been there for me. He's made the graphics for the show. I mean, he's been really awesome, and he gives so much back. Great connection to have.
Connect with Ira, because he seems like he's definitely a gem, and is definitely
he is. He's approaching 200,000 followers right now. So he's got a big following. So
wow. I'd love to be in your sphere, Ira. So thank you so much.
Oh, he's a lot of fun. He helps job seekers. He has a free platform where there's open jobs, and they can go in and look for jobs and everything. Wow. But he's got his Bowman Digital Media. He's got Bowman Coaching. So I mean, he's doing the things right, man. He's just an awesome connection to have. So.
Well, I'm grateful, and I'm delighted, Ira, and we will be connecting. And so thank you. That's the beautiful thing, is that this kind of engagement is something that as humans, we're so destined. And I love LinkedIn. These platforms are so fantastic to start that process, but taking it to this level where you can see the personalities and you can engage as humans is fantastic. And I actually recently joined this platform, which I have to share just because it's really mind blowing, and I think it's going to change, take it to another level, which is called Clubhouse. And this is a platform where you are speaking in real time, but it's just your icon, so there's no visual. But you can go, once you're in it, you can form a room and have a conversation about whatever subject you're in, and people will just show up. But it's in real time. So you can go, like, there's 3-hour conversations, 24-hour conversations.
Wow.
But yeah, it's gonna take the world by storm. It's already got 1 million. So I was asked to be on a voiceover panel, and I have since been to so many. Happy New Year to you, Rodney. But it's another thing about voice. Yes, we all when we get to know each other better. We could use our voices rather than our digital communication, and so the conversations are very. It's like having 20 of these podcasts going on at the same time. So it's probably going to be something that's going to take over a certain amount of podcasting. Yes, Ira is a great guy.
He is very. I vouch for him 100%. So
yeah, share this the Clubhouse, because I think it's going to explode. I mean, it is exploding already.
That sounds awesome. I'm very interested in that. That sounds really cool, and we met on another platform too, Run the World. That was a lot of fun doing that, where you spoke and we broke away to little
Run the World
individual spokes. Yeah, that was really cool.
Event space that kind of Zoom on steroids. So people that are interested in kind of creating a video version of their events. Run the World is wonderful. I want to give a shout out to Run the World, because they really do it right in terms of that one-to-one engagement, and also taking as someone in the audience, like this situation where you can pull them up, they can hold the mic, and then get into you on the stage.
That's what I did. Yeah.
Right. So it's an incredible platform of engagement. So I think engagement is the key right now, in terms of, especially it could come, and maybe again, it comes back to necessity as the mother of invention, right? Here we are, we're more desperate than ever for human interaction because of COVID. And these formats are helping to bridge the divide, to use our voices, and especially, again, if we can use our faces, but especially our voices, to touch each other, because we're literally, isolated from one another.
Because you provided a link to me for Run of the World, and I went on, and then I think there's two of us who jumped on with you guys to speak something, and that's how I met Todd, Dr. Hassan, and Drew. And I remember I was telling my story about digging ditches and drilling holes and making my way all the way up the ladder, and I remember that was where Todd was like, "You need to put your story out there, man." That was the first thing he said, and then we connected. Then he was on the podcast. It was really cool. I mean, it's stuff like that, and those people they're staying in contact with me, and it's not like we're, who knows where the friendship or anything is going, but they're there willing to help with the networking side of it and give you tips and just cheer you on.
Yes.
And that's the great thing about it. That's the great thing about all this. And somebody said in there that Ira seems like a great guy. Yes, he is. And he's showing people how to network, how to build your profiles right, and just get out there and put yourself out there, and he called me out on a post one night. So that's why I have a podcast now, because I was talking about for so long, and he called me out on it and said, "Fine, I'm doing it." And
I've been wanting to talk for so long, and I put it off. I mean, give great voice. You think it should be a podcast? Yes. But I totally
appreciate. There you go. Because Ira has the maximum 30,000. So.
Oh, he just made a spot for me.
Yeah,
don't tell me you kick somebody.
No. Here's what it goes, and it goes with a lot of them. We always say this: you get a 30,000 max, but then you can have as many followers as you want. But if people aren't engaging with you or anything, why let them take up that spot? Let them be a follower, not a first, second, or third line.
That makes a lot of sense. And that's one of those questions that I was asking, because I have wonderful mentors here, like Edward Zia, who's an incredible connector. I love Edward Zia.
I'm connected to him. Yep.
Fantastic. And I often ask, when one goes from connections to, because you can turn the follower thing on at any time versus just the connections. And this is great for LinkedIn. Do you have an opinion, Ira or, Nick, about, going from connection requests to making people follow you first and then make the connection request?
There's a tab in your Ira. You're going to tell me if I'm right or wrong.
No, you can do it. The question is,
you move it and make it follow. I follow everybody first, and then up to them if they want to connect with me. That's what I do personally.
But do you make it? In other words, do you make people follow you first and then ask for?
It doesn't matter. I'm going to connect with everybody until I hit the 30,000 mark, and then probably when I'm about 25,000, I'll start being more okay. I need this to be a follower, not a connection. Because I want to make sure, like what Ira just did, if all of a sudden I'm up to 25,000, approaching 30, then we start networking. Yes, you're going to be very valuable in my network to me as a first, second, and third connection than a follower. So, but yeah,
good.
That's the way I look at it. So
I love it. Well, I mean, again, I love to learn. As I'm growing, I'm always wanting to learn. And again, this is the opportunity to be with people that have more experience. So even though this is our interview, our conversation, I'm sure there's value in me asking questions for you.
Yeah. And Ira is right here. You connect with everybody because there is more advantages to a connection than a follower.
Okay.
So
hit the max. So 30 it is. So I'm only at 6 something or so.
We can, if you want to get blown up, we can blow you up. But
let's blow you up. I'm ready.
Turn your notifications off. I'm telling you, write that on your phone because your phone will not stop.
I'm delighted. Well, you can see I'm a people person, but I mean, sometimes the notifications can be a little bit overwhelming because you feel like, oh my God, who did I miss today? Because, if you don't scroll through it and it goes to so there is something to be said for it. But my hope is, again, that, people will engage with me. And like, as you said, my posts are, I'm a positive petunia who's always trying to spread some kind of light and joy. So this is my passion. And I'm hoping that, people will connect with me so that I can support them in their journey to do that. And also just gain, from whatever I've already shared, whether it's a post on, showing my voiceovers and how you can approach yourself and in your real life roles, or I'm teaching. So it's definitely something that I try to offer as much value as possible, and not just post superficial kind of stuff that doesn't gain much value.
Yeah, and how we can blow your profile up is just strategically tag the right people in it. I mean, you hit somebody like Ira, he's got close to 200,000 followers. It's getting out to a lot of people.
Wow.
It's getting out there.
But you have to tag, but you see, that's something that I said too, that you have to be thoughtful, right? You don't want to just tag like without kind of like saying if it's not relevant, because that can be annoying to people where they feel like they're being tagged. Correct, Ira? Is it, you don't want to just say
he's on YouTube now. So
just jumped out to YouTube to say what's up for you. I feel like Ira's kind of like omnipotent here. He's like all happening. Ira.
I always tell him I don't recognize him in that picture because he had hair in that picture. So I always give him a hard time on that. So, but I love you, Ira. So no, I mean it's a lot of fun, and yes, absolutely. Here we go. So
tag without relevance. Don't tag without relevance.
And that's the thing. I tag people who I know are going to comment in my posts, who have done it quite frequently, who are always there and everything. And then I will tag I'll put like Edward Zia in a post, and thing is he's got a big network. He'll respond every once in a while, but it gets it to a lot of people in Australia then. Then I'll tag somebody over in Europe and it'll get a lot of people over there, but I don't tag like 50 people from Europe. It's one person that has engaged with me before, who will jump on, who I know will, or who knows of me. That's the biggest thing, who knows of me. So,
well, I'm always open to learning because I'm still Irish stocking all formats.
This is Andrew.
Irish everywhere. Irish everywhere. Yeah. So I think there is a wonderful way to learn LinkedIn etiquette, and I'm still growing and learning with that too. How to be appropriate. This is great. If you tag them and they don't respond, probably not best to tag them in the future, right? Because the last thing you want to be is unfollowed because someone finds that you're abusing that privilege. And so something that I probably don't tag enough because I'm so careful to do that, but I probably could tag more if it's something that I think that they would be interested in.
I've sent messages to people and say, hey man, there's no reason to tag me in this. Please don't. It's nothing against you, but it has nothing to do with me. Or nothing to do with my interests. And I'm not trying to be mean. It's just like I had one person tag me in every single one of their posts, and they do like 10 posts a day. And it had nothing to do with me. I never engaged. And the big thing, they never engaged on my posts. So I'm like,
right.
There is kind of give and take when it comes to this too. It's like, I'm showing you a little love, show me a little love. It's all good. Ira gets tagged and I can't even imagine how many posts he gets.
So when you get tagged, it automatically goes to their feed. I'm just curious. Again, I
it goes to a notification, and then he can look at the notification, and then Ira can go right to that post. But yeah, they'll be tagged. Like if you go look on this, there's a lot of people tagged in it. A lot of these people do come back. So if you look below, you'll see. And what they'll do is, just hit their notification, and then they can come right to this post.
But I can't see it because we're on. All I see is cloud.
No. We when you go on the LinkedIn, when you go back on the LinkedIn, it'll be in the because what the great thing with StreamYard did now is they did a thing to where we can make a pre-broadcast. Let's say. So I made this last night.
Right.
And all those comments in there will still be on this video. The video just goes right to that feed. So I don't have to make 2 posts. So before I would have to make a post, hey, Tasia's coming on the show. This is what it's going to be. Then we'd film the show, and then I had to go back and put it back into my feed and add it again. And it was just too much. Now this is simple. I only have to make 1 post. It's done. I engage on the post. I'll engage for an hour after I make the post, and probably an hour after this because all these people, on here. So I'll make sure I say something back to them, so.
Yeah, that's great. And so I'll engage too, and I guess connect with some of the people. And of course, feel free to reach out to me.
There you go, Ira.
Photo. Ira doing the ball thing. I love it.
Thanks, Rod. I appreciate it.
Great connection in LinkedIn. You see, you're getting lots of LinkedIn love.
Yeah.
Being linked to Nick, I get a lot of notifications when he's live. Oh, Troy, I definitely Troy,
Yeah, it's but this is a lot of fun, and I know you got something coming up, so we're talking about we need to get you out by noon. So
yeah, but
okay,
I'd love to be, if there's anything more value that I can offer, in terms of a question, I would be more than delighted to share, because
okay, we got a couple questions. Somebody want to throw out a question real quick? Hey, how
yeah,
about that?
very
Let's go. Let's see. We'll see if how fast people write stuff up. But no,
I'm
here's
back in
one. Here's one really quick for
to.
you, Tasia.
Yes.
Since COVID hit and everything, has that slowed down? I guess you would call it the Hollywood scene for you. And has it been more on what you're building with your website and everything? Is that what you've more been concentrating on this year?
Because I was a voiceover artist, that's the one area that's increased because of COVID, because the on camera, but it's also increased the competition, because a lot of the on camera actors who were like sort of doing voiceovers or thinking of it
Yeah.
definitely came into the field. So work has definitely gotten more competitive. As a teacher, it's given me more opportunity to be a voiceover coach and teach at different platforms. And then it's definitely spurned on. Yes, I would love to get a joint video going with you, Ira, for sure. It's definitely spurred on my desire again to launch ironically, my TEDx, which took me 7 years. There's another great story. Again, I would love to encourage people for a lot of people would like to be TEDx speakers or on stages. So, yeah,
This guy right here.
let me tell you that story real quick, because I like to pull back the curtain and show that it is through intention and consistency and picking ourselves up when it looks like you're 2 steps back or you went 10 steps back. So I had an idea to start thinking about what it means to give great voice when I was forming my platform, because it's a little ambiguous. Give great voice, what does it mean? And then I really got my elevator pitch over time, which it means to move, touch, and impact, utilizing the skills of a voiceover actor in your own life, so you can play your professional and personal roles more successfully. So that's like, finally figured out, what does it mean to give great voice? But I was like, I want to get a TEDx talk and I want to get this on a stage. Well, by the time I came to my coach, Corey Poirier, so I want to give another shout out to him, who really helps people get on stages. And he helped me craft to how to facilitate it, because I'm a little, again, it feels a little intimidating. And also just how to form my talk. I made one submission. I got in, I was invited, but I went to the newspaper that I had in the LA Times that said anybody can give a great TED talk. And I had crossed out anybody and put Tasia Valenza, and I kept it with me. I even moved once and it was in a drawer. I looked down at the newspaper while I was getting that message that you've been invited. And it was 2013. And so I said to myself, and I'm emotional, it was like, wow, I didn't give up. I didn't give up, and I believed in it. And the timing was more divine than I could have put, because we have these ideas, like we want to do this and we want to succeed, and why isn't it happening? And truthfully, I had so much more to say that was meaningful 7 years later than I would have, because of the way communication was diminishing. That it wasn't just about utilizing the skills, but that we must use our voices to connect. I share a cautionary tale about not playing the role of loving daughter the way I wish I could have with my mother, because I was very impatient and resentful, and she's gone. And so I really put that out there, that how we share our voices, how we speak to ourselves, how we speak on behalf of our professional roles, and how we speak to the ones we love matter. And it came out February 7th. And, my intention was to get on world stages and kind of share that message. And then boom, COVID hit. But it also was this aberration. It was like, you're calling me. Why are you calling me? It was like gone. Like, it was like, I never would have wished that. But the outcome of people using their voices to call each other and check in with each other, where that seemed like it was a dying thing, that, we were good. If you texted somebody and it was almost aggressive to call somebody, that's something that, again, timing wise. So I feel like it was divine intention that it needed to come out, and that I'm jumping on that bandwagon to continue ringing that bell, that we need to use our voices compassionately, considerately, charismatically, to reach each other as humans, and not digitize our most important communication.
Awesome. So Rodney came in really late to the show, so he asked to do a voice that he would recognize. So I'm trying to think here, because you've done so many.
Oh, I don't know.
You
I
got
mean,
a couple video games, like you did
Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know it. Okay, so sniper wolf, I have you in my sights.
I remember that. So
Yeah,
that's
I
great.
was
So
born on the battlefield, but then poison is poison ivy. I mean, the thing about poison ivy is that again, we can ask like, why does she have that voice? Well, she's a seductress, right? So she's a villainess, she's an eco-terrorist, she's like a kind of the Who, but she's a seductress. Why is she a seductress? Well, one-dimensional. Well, that's just the voice. She's drawn sexy. But she's a seductress because her venom lies in her lips. So she needs to get her prey close enough. And I always use her as an example for how she intentionalizes her need. She can get Batman close enough if she says, hey, Batman, coming over here. But if she were to say, Batman, come here, he probably wouldn't come, right? It's more of a repellent tone. Thank you. And I always joke that my husband, it repels him when I speak like that. Yes. Our voices, depending on how we're speaking, can draw us closer or it can repel us. So we need to be more conscious of that in our Zoom meetings, in our conversations with our loved ones when we're feeling rather stress. Oh, you love playing. So I'm Sniper Wolf. So now you know Metal Gear. But we need to be more intentional, especially with how much stress we're all under and how anxious we're feeling, that our voices convey the tone that conveys that it's not so much the words we say, right? It's not so much, honey, can you take out the trash? Can you take out the trash? That's what we respond to more than the words. And so I'd love to keep, reminding people, think about the role, the aspirational roles we want to play, mother, friend, son, husband, and, who are we speaking to? The love of our lives, our children. Can we take a deep breath? Maybe listen to the affirmation meditation app before we react. Thank you. I'm one of the favorite guests.
Oh, he might start a battle with some of our friends.
That's a great compliment. Can we use our voices to further our goals, deepen that relationship? And it's only through consciousness and a reconsciousness. Oh, Andrew was the voice of Pac-Man. Really? Did Pac-Man have a voice?
Yeah, see. And Andrew's sarcastic quite a bit. He's my biggest critic too of my show.
I love it.
it.
But anyway, this is what I wanted to send for people to start thinking of their voices as instruments, thinking about being a voiceover artist in their own lives, rock their roles, speak kindly to themselves intentionally, and then think about the role they're about to play in their personal and professional lives, and just be more cognizant that they have the power to inspire, move, and touch people with it.
His sarcasm was coming out hot.
I loved it. It was very cute.
Well, I told you I'd get you out by noon. Sorry, we're 2 minutes late.
That's okay. I'm not going to put a pumpkin.
This was fantastic. I mean, this was day 3 of TEDx speakers for me this week, and I'm glad. We finished up with you on this. This was outstanding for somebody who wants to be a public speaker and trying to push that way. These last 3 days have been amazing for me because everybody brought something different, and I just love what you do. Please keep it up. I think you're going to gain a lot of traction and followers and connections off of this because there's a lot going on there in the comments and everything. So
thank you.
Hopefully we can help you out. Just before we go, just tell everybody where they can find you. What's your best websites? What do they need to do to get in contact with you?
Sure. Well, TasiaValenza.com. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn, of course, obviously. And thank you. Thank you. That is my intention, to be inspiring. So I'm so glad that it comes through. And I'm Give Great Voices my speaking. I'm in the process of merging the two because, I'd love to be hired again as a voiceover artist to tell those stories for corporate events and, commercials and promos. But I also, again, love to give my expertise to help people. So TasiaValenza.com, Give Great Voice. I'm working on merging them so that, it's like, you want the voiceover artist, check it out. But they also intersect with each other. Again, it's like when people get to hear me, they like, oh, that's a familiar voice. I didn't realize that she was that. And I'll leave you with, one of the greatest gifts we can give in our voices is warmth and trustworthiness. And I talk about BEADS as an acronym: breathe, empower, affirm, dress. And I added smile. So when we can convey warmth and trustworthiness in our voices, that is something that everybody benefits from. And the simplest thing we can do is just add a warm smile, which not only raises our own serotonin and makes us feel better, but even if you don't speak, a smile can light up the room, that nonverbal communication. So this is how they find me. I'm delighted to be in your sphere and your company, Nick, and everybody. Thank you so much for joining. And I'm sure I will be connected with you in the LinkedIn sphere.
It was great. Hey guys, real quick, everybody up there in the corner, come follow me on LinkedIn, please. You can follow me on YouTube too. Find our all past.
I'm on YouTube too.
Past podcasts are on there. Nick Dorsey Leadership. That's what they're tagged under. We just launched the website last night. allthingsgratitudepodcast.com. Come check it out. Tasia's on there. Direct link to her website and her TED Talk. Down in the comments below, we have all her where you can find her too. Everything's down there too. Her TED Talk, everything. So everybody, thank you for commenting today. Everybody, you were great. I really appreciate every one of you.
Thank you so much, Ira. I'm sure we'll be connecting. Nick, again, you're a gem. And to all of you, again, this is a very, very challenging time. Please be gentle with yourselves, kind with yourselves, compassionate with yourselves, and fill your cup with self-love, and you'll have so much more to give as we continue during a very difficult time, and connection like this is, it fills us all up. So the Nicks of the world and the Iras of the world, everybody that's creating more connection and more kindness, more focus on gratitude, this is a gift. So thank you for what you're doing and how you're giving great voice and showing up.
Oh, I appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you so much. Much love for that. Thank you. Hey, everybody, tomorrow at noon, Jairus Tucker will be on. He's our man. We don't know which direction that show is going to go. It's going to be crazy. So if you want some good laughs and everything, tomorrow is it. So come check us out. But thank you, everyone. Have a great night. Stay safe. We don't see you. Happy New Year, everybody. And hey, let's put 2020 behind us, put it in the rear view, and let's just take off blazing in 2021. We need that. So have a great one, everyone.
And give great voice. Go out there. Give great voice.
See you, everybody.